In politics, we've seen the mudslinging and the millions of dollars it can take to win. People are fed up with a system that hasn't worked for them, and women are a part of the solution. With women making up less than a third of over 500,000 elected offices in the United States, overwhelmingly at the local level, we need new voices in government. Numerous studies show that when women run, they win at the same rates as men. We have thousands of qualified women in this country who have something to offer in public service. Women who are entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, stay-at-home moms, and scientists who already contribute to their communities. I can speak from my own experience as an elected official and as someone who works for She Should Run, a national organization expanding the talent pool of women running for office. I work with a community made up of thousands of women who are hungry to create change. And yet there are real fears around what stepping into the political ring looks like as a woman. In 2014, I ran and won my race for city council at the age of 27 in a town of about 17,000 called Arcata. You may have heard of it here in the room. I ran because I wanted to make a difference. I ran because I believe government is a place where we can make people's lives better. These are just some of the reasons women share with me about why they want to run for office as well. However, even with a drive for change, I felt fear around running for office. The fear of failure, the fear of messing up, the fear of not being qualified enough, or perhaps I wasn't cut out for the political world that can seem so mean and nasty. These are some of the concerns women share with me as well about why they may be hesitant to put their names on the ballot. We talk a lot about how tough running for office is, how grueling it is, and then as elected officials or as candidates, we don't really talk about what it really feels like to run, and that it's normal and okay to have fears and insecurities. We're human. And if we keep pretending that we have it all figured out, keep pretending it didn't feel risky or scary to get here, keep pretending that we were born for this and we've been groomed our whole lives for this moment, then we are reinforcing the ideas around who a politician can be and how a politician should act. A politician could be a single mom working hard to better her children's future. A politician could be that community volunteer you know who typically works behind the scenes to get things done. A politician could be a recent college grad who's working 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet. What makes us human makes us equipped to lead and serve. When I was first running for city council, I had my first ever candidate profile interview with a local media outlet, and I knew a lot of eyes were going to see it. The day leading up to my interview, I felt sick to my stomach. I was so nervous. Would I say the wrong thing? Would I not make a strong enough case for why I should be elected? When this article gets posted, will I be able to avoid the trolls that inevitably will comment on this article? And if I do read what they have to say, will I not take it so personally? I do the interview, and it went fine. But the next day, a wave of anxiety consumed me all over again. And I realized that I could not dedicate this much energy to one media interview. How was I supposed to campaign if I was second-guessing everything I did? I share this with a friend of mine, and out of love and concern, she asked me, "Sofia, have you thought about dropping out of the race? I mean, you don't have to run for city council. I mean, maybe it's not too late." I was taken aback by this question, but I paused. I went back to why I was running in the first place, the issues I wanted to work on, how I knew I could do a good job as a city council member. I realized that I had to let go of what I couldn't control, what people may think of me. I had to let go of the fear that people were going to want to tear me down. My reasons for running meant more to me than holding on to those fears. So I kept running for office, even with those moments of uncertainty. However, something I've learned in my time in office is that having a seat at the table isn't enough. Once we're at the table, we have to own our power. So I'm going to take us back in time for a little bit to November 8th, 2016. This day may or may not mean something to you. But that day, I wore a pantsuit all day in anticipation of the glass ceiling being shattered. Instead, I spent that night pacing the room in disbelief as the results continued to come in. Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin. The pit in my stomach was heavy with grief. Now, you may remember where you were and how you felt that night of the presidential election in the United States. That night, a collective shift occurred among thousands of women in this country. Thousands of women raised their hands saying, "I want to run. Something needs to change in my community, and it's up to me to make it happen." It's incredible. The election affected me in another way. I felt regret. I saw this incredible wave of women stepping up to run for office. And here I was, already an elected official. And while it was never anything I took for granted, having this privilege to serve my community, I realized that I was afraid. I was afraid to fully step into my power as an elected official. Afraid to make mistakes. Afraid of disappointing people or saying the wrong thing. Afraid of harassment. Afraid of asking a question too directly in a meeting and looking like a you-know-what. Afraid of looking too confident or that I thought too highly of myself. The 2016 election was a wake-up call for me. I wasn't serving anyone by trying to stay small. I realized that I needed to be able to stand up and speak up for what I believe in, despite fear of political consequences, whether it was standing up for the marginalized in my community or speaking out against racism. I knew that in order to truly stand up, relationships would change or be lost. But I didn't know at the time the extent to which it would affect me. Coming into my own as a leader resulted in me losing one of my biggest cheerleaders, my confidant, my mentor, my father. I didn't know at the time that as I started to become the leader I felt called to be, that I would lose a relationship with my father. Now, as you can imagine, in this current political climate, my father and I are on different sides of the political spectrum. But this is something that we long celebrated, having heated yet respectful debates on hot-button issues from gun rights to Obamacare. Nothing was really off the table, and I think you would have had a lot of fun or been very uncomfortable at our family dinners. My relationship with my father shaped how I interact with those that I disagree with, seeing their humanity, even when I disagree with their perspective. I didn't know at the time that losing a loved one would be a risk that I would take as I started to get more comfortable in my skin, to be the strong woman I was told I should be growing up. Losing a relationship with my father has been one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. And for months, I wasn't sure if I should just recoil, appease, and quit making waves. But I have more to lose if I cannot stand up for what I believe in and what I believe to be fair and just for my community. Politics are not a sport or a hobby. Politics shape everything from the roads we drive on to the very fabric of our democracy, the values that we hold dear. Our values of freedom, justice, and equality are worth fighting for in the halls of government. Now, I think all of us are probably going to have slightly different definitions for these values and what they mean to us. And we may never completely get on the same page. But we need leaders who are unafraid to stand up for what they believe in, leaders who are guided by an internal compass and not just popular opinion. We need leaders who are unafraid to build bridges with those that they disagree with. We need leaders. We need leaders like the small town lawyer from Ohio who ran against a slate of powerful male incumbents. And despite her loss, she's running again. We need leaders like the California woman I met who bravely, with a quiver in her voice, declared her intentions to run for city council to a room full of strangers and on a national stage. She put her ambition on the record. We need leaders like the veteran from Texas I met who's running for school board in her community to improve student outcomes. Don't let those of us in elected office fool you. We all have moments where we doubt ourselves, where we feel we aren't good enough, or maybe we could have handled something better. These feelings may never completely go away, but I've learned that I'd rather be true to myself than pretend to be someone I'm not or what people expect me to be as a politician. I felt safe playing it small for some time, but I can't and I won't anymore. To the women out there, I hope you take the risk and run for office. Take the risk so that you can pave the way for women and girls behind you. Take the risk because it will bring you clarity of purpose and allow you to lead in ways you may not have imagined possible before. And for those of you that don't run, regardless of gender, take a risk and engage in our democracy. It's your civic duty. Take a risk and organize your neighbors around a cause you believe in. Take a risk and apply to participate in a local government board or commission and offer your expertise and perspective as a resident of your community. Take a risk and write to your elected officials, write letters to the editor, show up to your city council and school board meetings. Your voice matters. And lastly, ask an amazing woman you know to run for office. And I'd like to think that each and every one of you had someone that came to mind right now. Ask her to run. And once she's running, support her campaign. And I'm talking dollars and door knocking. You got to put some money and some people power behind her as well to get her to the finish line. And then once she's in office, keep supporting her and that work, because once she's taken that oath, that's not the end of the work. That's just the beginning. This is what democracy can look like when we go all in. And these are just some ideas on how we can make government work for the people. Thank you.